Hi, my name is Jesse Smith, and I am the Safety and Manufacturing Manager here at Miller Ingenuity. Today I put this training video together to go through some of the general industry's OSHA standards and regulations. I'm not going to cover all of them, there's many of them to be had, but I've actually then chosen 6 different topics that I'd like to share with you a little more detail. They are the Aware Safety and Health Program, Employee Right to Know, Personal Protective Equipment, or PPE, Health and Safety Committees, Lockout, Tagout, and Machine Guarding. Some of these may seem strange to you now, but I'm hoping at the end of my training here, you'll have a better idea of what these mean and why they're important. Let's begin. In this section, we're going to talk about an Aware Safety and Health Program. AWARE stands for a Workplace Accident and Injury Reduction Program. What we have here is the government, Minnesota OSHA, actually requires all businesses of 25 or more employees to have an AWARE program documented and in place. So what that does, it provides a safe and healthful work environment for all your employees and helps you to abide by federal, state, and local regulations as they pertain to our operation. The objective of the Safety and Health Program is to reduce the number of accidents and injuries. Some of the keys to the success to a successful program is to have the embodied proper attitudes towards accident prevention. And this needs to be part of everybody's mindset as they work here, and not just the safety cop or the, as we call them, the safety manager needs to have help from everybody else on the floor to make this program work. That's from management all the way through employees on the operations. Some of the responsibilities for, say, the safety and manufacturing manager is to establish these rules and programs designed to promote safety, actively enforce it, provide safeguards to ensure safe conditions, provide safety training. So every year we do annual trainings. We space those out throughout the year. So every other month we end up doing an annual refresher training on the AWARE program. It could be on our safety boots, safety PPE, Right to Know. These are all required by OSHA to have these refresher trainings in there. Conduct safety inspections, review and advise on new equipment, making sure that if there is anything, that guarding, PPE that needs to be in place, just to make sure that they're in place before they are allowed to go into operations. Supervisors and lead people are, again, they're there to carry out and actively enforce the program as well as the safety manager. It's not up to one person to be a safety cop here. We rely on everybody to police each other and make sure that we're doing things safe and not forgetting or skipping steps, safety important steps. They ensure that all the employees on the floor before they're performing an operation are trained in all the safety aspects of it, that they are knowledgeable of it, and they know the tasks they're doing before they turn them on to it and let them do the task. Plan the production, make sure that it's done with the established safety regulations, make sure that the PPE and protective devices and equipment are available and that they're being worn correctly. And then all employees are to observe and comply with all the safety rules. Work safely to ensure not just their own safety, but their fellow employees' safety too. Request assistance. We always say if you don't know how to do a task, don't be afraid to ask somebody. There's nothing worse than trying to do a task and not know 100% what you're doing and put yourself at risk or another fellow employee at risk. If you see anything unsafe out there, report it, to the proper supervisors so we can get that included on a safety priority list and get it taken care of right away. Maintain safety devices, and then attend all the required trainings. So part of it too now is the accident investigation. So all accidents, regardless of how serious of personal injury or property damage, they get reported to a supervisor, mainly the safety manager. And an investigation then is conducted, and part of that investigation is the safety manager. There would be some safety committee members, and then anybody that would be part of the actual incident themselves that were a witness of it. Occupational injury management. So if there is a work-related accident here, we need to make sure that the injured employees are cared for and receive appropriate attention. At the time of injury, all the accidents and injuries, we ask them to be reported immediately. Once they've been reported, then we can determine what kind of medical attention is needed. Maybe just general first aid, which we can do here, or maybe it is taking them over to emergency room to stitch up something or along that matter. We also train on life-threatening. If somebody collapses on the floor, and we train instruct them how to call 911, give them the address, all the steps that are needed there. We also do have our employees go through CPR training annually.
just so we have them up to date so they can perform general CPR training here, or CPR if needed. So in the case of an injury, we fill out a first report of injury. This is filled out by the supervisor, and then this gets turned into our human resources, and it needs to be done within the 24-hour period. So what this does is it details the tasks that we're performing, what went wrong, did they smash a finger, did they cut a hand, and this gets us down to then we can come up with the root cause and then a corrective preventative action for it. Safety meetings. So safety meetings here, we call it toolbox meetings as well. They're performed at the beginning of every shift. They're held by the leads in the areas. They'll take and hold the meetings before we start work. Accidents, near misses, they'll be reviewed during that time, or if there would be any kind of safety training that the employees need before they start their production or their work day. This is a great time for that to take place, is at the safety meeting prior to every shift. Equipment maintenance. The employees are responsible for maintaining the equipment. If there's things they see that are coming loose, falling off, need to be tightened, making funny noises, they need to let the appropriate maintenance guys know so they can take care of that and make sure that it's operating safely. And the only ones that can remake the repairs to equipment in that are trained individuals. We don't want just anybody to take and try to rewire something and not do it correctly and harm themselves or somebody that would come and operate it later. So part of this too is our emergency action plan. So what that means is fires, tornadoes, severe weather. We have implemented an emergency action plan that addresses what actions need to be taken. If it's an evacuation, in case of, again, fire, we do the training every year. We do a drill every year, whether it is on the fire drill or tornado drill. We have to train individuals on what to do when they get that notice or that notification. That's all I have right now on the aware side of it. Again, there is a few other things that are outlined in this that I didn't cover here that I will cover in other sections, such as machine guarding, right to know, and again, those we will cover, but I wanted to get those in a little more depth and detail. A key component to any good safety program is the employee right to know program. In this program, it's detailed to any employee that how they may be exposed to any dangers, including harmful physical agents, hazardous substances, or infectious agents in their workplace. And how these are related is through the list of hazardous substances in a SDS file. So there are safety data sheets. If you're not familiar with those, I have one I would like to show as an example. This is what a safety data sheet would look like. This one happens to be for WD-40, which is a lubricant. Just a couple things I really want to highlight in here. The section here where it has the hazard identification. So this right off the bat, when the individual reads it, is going to tell you right away what the dangers are you might be exposed to. And it will also tell you what happens, if you swallow it, should you induce vomiting, that's such a thing, or, if it gets on your skin or hair. So it has some pictograms, they call them here, and they're the key point. As soon as you see these, you know that there's a hazard involved in it. Well, if we scroll down further on this, in section 8 here, we get into exposure controls, personal protection. So in here's where you're going to find where they're going to call out their recommendations on personal protective equipment that should be used or wore depending on the task or how you're using that chemical. It goes anything from eye protection to skin protection, possibly respiratory protection. It's all detailed in here, and these are reviewed by the safety manager and the safety and health committee in determining what kind of PPE is to be worn while handling or using these. Part of relaying what information is pertinent to them as far as how they may be hazardous to the individual is they call this a GHS label, Global Harmonized Label. So these labels would be on all the containers, and right away you see the same pictograms here that are identifying that there is a hazard that's a danger there for you, and on there they'll list what that danger is. So you have whatever the chemical is or component is, what are the dangers of it, and then contact information and such. But these are key, so if these weren't on an individual container, and then somebody that would be using them wouldn't know what exposure that they could be possibly exposed to. Some of the list of harmful physical agents that you may see out there, for heat sources, and these are some of the things in our facility, but There's heat sources out there from, if somebody's welding, could be a machine that's running that uses heat to melt certain plastics, a punch press, for noise. If it's punching out steel, there's that loud noise exposure, grinders, compressors. These are all different kinds of harmful physical agents that you need to train employees on, so they're aware of them before they start the work. It could be radiation as well. Here we have an arc welding from a flash from somebody welding. Again, this is all falls under the right to know program, and the employees have a right to know what harmful physical agents, tasks that they could be exposed to. Section, I'm going to talk about personal protective equipment, PPE. When it's required in the workplace, protective equipment must be worn by individuals to protect them from accidental injuries or illness. That could be anywhere from a splash in the face with a chemical to a burn on your hands or different parts of your body. So with that, we have put in place specific personal protective equipment that need to be worn during specific tasks. So going through some of these, the eye protection, it's the safety glasses that have side shields, and they're worn everywhere on the production floor. The exception would be in office areas. They could be anything from a larger, bulkier pair like this to a smaller pair that's a little more comfortable. But we also have different things, like for eye protection would be a face shield. And this would be worn to protect possibly from, again, like a chemical splashback. There could be doing a grinding job where then you have debris flying up, and this would protect your face and your eyes from that. The next one we have is a foot protection. So everything we require here has to meet a class 75 requirement, and that is an ANSI class that's been determined. And all that does is it's telling us is what the toe on that safety boot can withstand for impact. They could be a steel toe, they could be composite, aluminum, as long as they meet the class 75 requirement. That's all we require here. Hearing protection, there are specific tasks that may expose or exceed the OSHA's permissible noise level, which would be 90 dB for an 8-hour period on average, time average period. So we do offer here some different types of protection for that. We have your classic earmuffs, which would be just worn over the top. We have the inner ear type, the foam that they take and roll them up, and you would insert them in the ear. Here's just another smaller form of kind of a cross between the earmuff and then the insertion type. Again, would just get worn in the ear canal. Each one of these has a different rating that they reduce the noise for. So what we do is we've assigned specific protection for the specific task, depending on how loud that task is. Our next one is our hand protection. We have many different tasks there that require different types of gloves. It could be anything from a nitrile glove, which is just basic, medical grade glove that you would wear for handling different oils or different, chemicals of that such. We have just a cotton glove, which would be, we use these for any kind of heat application. Well, it's a person pulling parts out of a machine that may be warm. That's where these gloves would fall in for handling that kind of part. Anytime we're working with a knife here, we require that the operators wear, this is a Kevlar knitted glove. So what this does is on their non-knife hand, they'd wear this, but it protects from the individual getting cut. If the knife would slip and come across it, the Kevlar has a higher cut resistance for us than, say, a cotton glove would. So we require them to wear the Kevlar glove. One other variation is it's a chemical glove. And again, this is used here for certain tasks where they are applying a cleaning chemical to a mold, to a surface. And in that application, they need to have a little more protection, than just the short nitrile glove would give them. And then these are chemical resistant too. So they're thicker, more protected. So each task out there, to determine what PPE is needed for them, we actually fall back and go back to our safety data sheets, which is explained a little more in your right to know training here. They have the recommendations depending on the task that is being performed on what types of PPE should be required or should be used for those tasks. Another part of PPE is to have a department personal protective equipment form specifically for each department. There's different tasks that are specific to each department. Those departments can be anything from cutting, grinding. This one, for instance, is a molding department. So in this rim department, they have different tasks which are listed out here. And if they have a specific protective piece of protective equipment that's needed to perform it, we would call it out on here. What this does is it makes it so the operators don't have to submit everything to memory, and it gives them something to fall back to. You know, if I'm going out there and I'm going to clean a mold, obviously you're trained in it first, but this is just a reminder, what do I need now that I know how to do it, but what do I need to protect myself while I'm doing it? The mold cleaning task here, for instance, is a face shield with safety glasses. I had the face shield out in my earlier video showing you that. Rubber gloves, these would be a chemical resistant glove that they wear. And then they tells them here too to have a new pair after every cleaning. So these are real important that individuals, as they're trained, that they are aware of where they're located. That's why we make them readily accessible out there. And they're not hidden away in a corner so nobody can find them. Again, in every department will have a different form. Some of them will have similar things if they have similar tasks, but there's, for a majority of them, there is specific things that happen in those departments. There isn't a need to know everything on one form. Let's just keep it to that one department. In this section, we're going to discuss Safety and Health Committee and its role and importance in the workplace. OSHA does require that we have a Safety and Health Committee. Some of the purposes that the committee members' reason for being there is to create and maintain interest in safety and health, to act as representatives for all employees, to aid and advise employees in all matters of safety and health issues which pertain to the company and operations. Our goals that we hope to achieve by doing these is to reduce the number and severity of injuries, to educate employees on proper safety practices, to make safety a way of life. Put that mindset in there, that mentality there that safety is important. It should be their way of life and not just a job or task you have to do. So our memberships, we do meet monthly here. Once every month we'll meet and we'll discuss different, could be different PPE, different concerns. Those are all discussed during our monthly meetings. We rotate members too, so the membership is for a year. Individuals that come on are willing, they're volunteering, they're not being forced to participate in it. This really helps to get the buy-in, and the input you get is more meaningful if they have a will to want to be there and be on the team. So responsibilities that are covered or part of the membership of a safety committee member is to conduct safety walkthrough inspections. These are done every month, and we walk through every area of the plant twice a year. So each department will get 2 walkthroughs, and the 2 individuals that do the walkthroughs are not individuals that work in those areas. The reason for this is we want to have a fresh set of eyes coming through and looking for safety concerns or safety hazards. As if you're an employee in the area and you're walking through your own area, it just seems like another day. It's mundane. You don't really maybe see certain tasks or certain things that might be a little unsafe. So we'll solicit and listen to fellow workers. We'll bring their suggestions and concerns forward. That is the point of having a representative from each department. They are their voice in the safety committee. So if there's different concerns and things, they would let that member know, and he would bring them to our meeting, and that's a discussion we have there. We review accidents and recommend corrective action. So every time there would be a documented near miss or an accident, we do a risk assessment analysis. So we would discuss it, come up with a root cause, why it happened, and then from there we can determine a corrective preventative action to prevent this from ever happening again, or to try to prevent it from happening again. Discuss possible new methods of accident prevention. Pursue safety education through films and demonstrations, so we can review training videos and that there in the meetings, and as a group we determine if this is a good training that we want to have the rest of the operations be a part of, and from there then we would pass it on to them and we would all train them up on it. One of the last things too is we discuss and review trends in personal protective equipment. So it could be with changing technologies and things getting better, It seems like all the time PPE is the same. So it could be an advancement in hearing protection. So what we do is we would bring in whatever that PPE would be, and as a group review it, do some assessments on it, and prove it out to make sure that it is actually better than what we have in place already. And once we come to an agreement on it, we would then push that out to operations, and it would become a part of their PPE, their regular usage.
Machine guarding. Moving machine parts have the potential to cause severe workplace injuries such as crushed fingers or hands, amputations, burns, or blindness. Safeguards are essential for protecting workers from these preventable injuries. I want to take a moment to highlight a couple processes here where we have guarding at Miller. What you see here is a metal coil line running, which stamping out steel parts. Those highlighted marks there are a light curtain, which is used to protect the operator from reaching into this machine as it's running. Here is the example of this machine running without the steel, and you can watch as the operator reaches past the light curtains, it shuts the machine down. Our next example here is showing how an automated door. So as the machine opens, the mold separates, a door opens so the operator can't reach in there prior to this happening. And again, when he hits the button to close it, the door shuts first and then the mold. That way nobody can get their hand pinched. The final piece of guarding I wanted to talk to you about was a fixed guarding system. This one you can see here is around a conveyor belt. What this does is protects the operators from the robot arm as it drops the part down, and to make sure there's no interference or interaction between the two. The final topic I want to talk to you about today is lockout tagout. For this, I have a short video to help give you a general idea about it. After viewing this, I will have a lockout tagout that I will perform here at our facility to give you an idea of what it looks like.
Ever heard of hazardous energy? Imagine something like this, or maybe something more like that. Not quite. Hazardous energy is any form of energy found around the workplace that poses a potential hazard. It comes in many forms. Electricity is a common one, but hydraulic pressure, radiation, and even gravity can sometimes be considered hazardous energy. Modern machinery can utilize many types of energy, but when the machines are shut down for maintenance, that energy may not just go away. Workers can be injured when energy is released unexpectedly. So to keep them safe, extra precaution must be taken when working with this equipment. That precaution is called lockout tagout. There are many variations on LOTO processes and programs, depending on the type of hazardous energy present, but they all share 4 basic ideas that are addressed before work begins. 1. Identify potentially hazardous sources of energy. 2. Disconnect those energy sources from the equipment. 3. Apply lockout or tagout devices to temporarily prevent reconnection. 4. Confirm that the system is safe. Lockout tagout systems must adhere to OSHA's lockout tagout rules as described in 29 CFR section 1910.147. As important as they may seem, lockout tagout plans get overlooked far too often.
In this lockout tagout, I'm showing a demonstration of locking out a punch press machine. First, it's powering down the machine. Next, you want to look at the lockout tagout procedures to make sure we know what devices need to be locked out to prevent injury. Here you will see that I'll be locking out the air source and the electrical source. This is done with a hasp and a padlock along with a tag describing who the individual is locking it out, the date, and the reason for lockout. Along with this, you'll see here that I'm bleeding off the air pressure. You want to make sure there's no stored energy left that could cause an issue or a safety concern while performing this. Final step is to try to power the machine back up again.
Now we'll show the removal of the locks after the maintenance has been done or the servicing has been. You'll notice the same individual that puts the locks on removes the locks. This is done so there's only one key, so nobody could turn or remove locks that would cause an issue or cause a safety concern because of the individual that locked it out not knowing that it has been energized again. Once all locks are removed, power has been being restored to the machine and it can be turned on and tested.
Well, that concludes my OSHA training. I hope that you guys picked up on a few things here that you can take with you and maybe down the road use when you get into your future employment. Thank you.